If your dog only listens when food is visible, they probably aren't being greedy. The food itself may have become part of the cue. That matters because simply hiding the treats won't make the cue clearer. It may just remove the familiar setup your dog has learned to respond to. You say sit with empty hands, and your dog just stares. Then you pick up a treat, say it again, and they sit immediately. This video will help you test what your dog actually understands, then teach them to respond before they see the food, without taking rewards away. A dog who waits to see food isn't necessarily trying to manipulate you. They may simply be responding to the full pattern you taught them. If every session starts with a treat in your fingers, your hand position, the smell, and your body movements can all predict what comes next. Over time, sit may not mean sit on its own. To your dog, the full instruction may be, see the food, watch the hand, then sit. The good news is that this pattern comes from the training so far, not from a character flaw. You can teach a clearer cue. First, though, you need to tell apart the 3 ways food is being used, because only one should come before your dog responds. A lure uses food near your dog's nose to guide them into position. It can be helpful when you're first teaching a new behavior, but a lure is only a temporary prompt. Keep it around too long, and your dog may follow the food instead of learning the verbal cue. A bribe comes after your dog ignores you. You show the treat, ask again, and reward them when they finally respond. That sequence teaches an unhelpful lesson. Your dog can ignore the first cue because they're likely to see food and hear the cue again. Reinforcement works differently. Your dog responds first, then something valuable follows, making that response more likely in similar situations. Food isn't the problem. The timing matters. Your dog should learn that food comes after the response, not that it must be visible first. You also don't need to prove you're in charge by suddenly removing treats. That usually makes a shaky cue less rewarding before your dog has learned to respond reliably. Instead, gradually remove the food your dog can see while continuing to reward success. They should stop seeing the reward beforehand, not lose their reason to respond. Before changing anything, run a few simple comparisons. They'll show whether visible food is the real issue or whether another part of training is missing. Start in a quiet room with an easy cue your dog usually follows. Keep a few treats nearby, but completely out of your dog's sight. Give the cue once with your hands relaxed. Then compare that response with what happens when you show the food and use your usual hand movement. If your dog only responds when the hand holding food moves, try the same hand signal without food. The gesture may be the stronger cue. If your dog responds in the kitchen but not in the yard, visible food may not be the main problem. The environment changed too. Dogs don't automatically use a skill everywhere. A familiar cue can become much harder around interesting smells, movement, distance, or something they want to reach. Check the difficulty too. Asking for a long stay near another dog isn't the same as asking for 1 second in your living room. Those comparisons help you pinpoint what's missing. A clear verbal cue, practice without visible food, experience in that setting, or an easier starting point. Also, watch what happens before you speak. If reaching toward your pocket makes your dog snap to attention, that movement is already giving them information. Run only a few trials and keep track of what changes. Repeating a failed cue 10 times only gives your dog more practice ignoring it. Once your dog can respond with food nearby but out of sight, you're ready to rebuild the sequence so the cue comes first. Before your dog enters the room, place several small treats on a shelf, counter, or inside a closed container. Start with both hands empty and relaxed. Ask for one easy behavior, such as sit. Give the verbal cue once, and don't reach for the reward while your dog is deciding. When your dog responds, mark that exact moment with your usual word or click. Only then should you reach for the treat and deliver it. The order is what matters. Cue, response, marker, then reward. Reach too early, and your movement can become part of the cue again. If your dog doesn't respond, don't show the food and ask again. Reset calmly, make the next attempt easier, or briefly return to a familiar hand signal. If your dog depends on a food lure, make the luring motion smaller with each successful repetition, then use the same movement with an empty hand. Deliver the reward from your other hand or a nearby container. This helps your dog separate the guiding gesture from where the food comes from. Move from food hidden in your closed hand to food in your pocket, then to food across the room, and finally to a short delay after success. Change one thing at a time. If you hide the food, add distance, and move outside all at once, you won't know what caused the problem. Short, successful sessions work better than testing until your dog gives up. Stop while your dog still understands the pattern and wants to continue. Reliability doesn't mean your dog works for nothing. It means they've learned that responding can still pay off, even when no reward is visible yet. Once the response is strong, food doesn't need to follow every repetition, but reduce it gradually and keep rewarding good responses often enough to matter. Mix food with everyday rewards your dog values. Opening the door, starting a sniff walk, chasing a toy, greeting someone, or being released to move again. The pattern now becomes simple. Cue, response, then something worthwhile. Your dog learns to respond before knowing exactly which reward is coming. Practice the same cue in several easy places before adding major distractions. New settings are training steps, not surprise tests your dog should somehow pass. If your dog starts responding less reliably, make one part easier and rebuild success. Don't wave food in front of them unless you're deliberately returning to a brief lure. Save occasional high-value rewards for excellent responses, difficult settings, or major progress. Rewards can become less predictable without becoming so rare that responding stops feeling worthwhile. Fading the lure makes the cue clearer while rewards still follow. Removing rewards too quickly gives your dog less reason to keep responding. So the goal isn't a dog who never gets food. It's a dog who can respond before seeing what that successful response will earn. Try the hidden reward test with one easy cue today, and notice what your dog is actually responding to: your word, your hand, or the food.